Hey everyone, how's it going? So at long last, we, or at least Elena, Magrita, and I have reached the end of the Divine Comedy, the Paradiso. Actually, Elena and I finished it like a week ago. Sorry, the cat just knocked down a bin. We actually finished it like a week ago, but we're posting our videos today because that was our schedule. So, in the Paradiso, at long last, Dante is led through heaven, through paradise, by his dead girlfriend Beatrice. Beatrice leads him through all 9 layers of heaven. Each section of the Divine Comedy, the hell, purgatory, and heaven, all have approximately 9 circles or layers. Although it's emphasis on approximately because a lot of these layers have kind of multiple sub-layers, and each of them gets multiple cantos usually. But roughly 9 layers. And in this case, they actually leave planet Earth and start visiting the heavenly bodies. They go to the Moon, to Mercury, to Venus, Mars, and all the way out to God, who is all the way out as this single tiny point of light surrounded by hordes of angels. And Paradise is structured so along the geocentric model of the universe, with the sun, with the Earth at the center, and the moon and planets and the sun revolving around it. And so basically each planet, or plus the moon and the sun, have a circle of paradise on it. And the closer you are to God, the further you are from Earth, the better you were in life, and the more divine light you get to wash yourself in constantly. So this is probably the section of the Divine Comedy where the most teaching of Dante, explicit teaching of Dante, occurs. There are often points where Beatrice and him will stop, and he will bring up some doubt that he has about Christian teachings, and she will sort of answer his doubt, and give him some reason for why whatever question he has is either it's a question wrongly put, or his possible criticism of Christian doctrine is not valid. And there are even points also where Beatrice and Dante stop at a certain circle of heaven for Dante to be kind of tested by some of the people they meet in heaven. So, like, I know Saint Benedict at one point, I think, asks Dante a question, and one of the questions he gets asked, for example, is like, what is hope? And Dante gives an answer, and basically the answer, the person who asked it, I can't remember who it was, but the person who asked it, when Dante gave his answer, was just like, okay, good job. Basically just gave him a thumbs up or a pat on the back, and he was, basically all this is sort of leading up to Dante becoming, I guess sort of in the Sun says, the perfect Christian, because he's mastering all the great Christian, or at least Catholic, I should say, doctrines along the way. And all of this climaxes in the absolutely glorious last 4 cantos of the Paradiso, which are basically where Dante sees, like, really the closest area in the universe to God, and he ends up seeing, like, the Virgin Mary and John the Baptist enthroned, and then of course sees God himself. And the poetry and the imagery in those last 4 cantos are just some of the most glorious poetry I've ever read, and I really wish I could read it in the Italian. I think more than any of the other sections, this one made me wish I could read the Divine Comedy in the Italian. Because I'm sure it's just so much. I'm sure it's just on a completely different level from from an English translation, even the best English translation. That being said, I would say that this is probably my least favorite of the 3 sections of the Divine Comedy. All the teaching that goes on, the sort of religious discourse, and the almost catechism-like way that Dante gets questioned by some figures he meets, and things like that. Along with the fact that the people in heaven, the people who make it to heaven, aren't as interesting as the people in hell or in purgatory, because I think most of the interesting people in history have been pretty despicable people who probably would go to the Inferno, or to purgatory. So the people he meets are just sort of all embodiments of different, aspects of divine perfection, or the perfection of being a Catholic or a Christian. So they're just not as interesting to talk to, I think. And so this out of the three, got the most tedious. They all sort of get a little tedious towards the middle, and maybe even a bit repetitive, but this one, most of all, ended up getting very repetitive and tedious. But I think it is still worth reading. Actually, really what I want to do with the Paradiso in particular, out of the three, is to find another translation, probably the Alan Mandelbaum translation, and buy my own copy so that I can write in it and annotate it and whatever, and just read the Paradiso canto by canto, and look very closely at Alan Mandelbaum's notes, and just work through it a bit more carefully than I did this time. But yeah, I think my favorite of the three would probably be Purgatorio, followed closely by the Inferno. I really, really liked both of them, and the Paradiso is sort of a distant third. But yeah, I'm so glad that Elena and I did this. I'm glad to have this classic under my belt. It's one that I've wanted to read for a long time. I knew it would be right up my alley, and lo and behold, it was. It will go down as one of my favorite works of literature ever. I'm going to be rereading it, I think, for the rest of my life. I want to read other translations. If I could, I would read it in the Italian. But alas, I don't know any Italian. Yeah, anyway, thank you anyone who watched, and thank you Elena for doing this with me, and yeah, anyway, you will actually be seeing Elena and I once again next month with Crystal from BiblioAtlas, because we're all doing a buddy read of Don Quixote, so I'll see you all for that. Bye guys.